Welcome to this channel. This is our first series in fish biology, and we are going to be talking about the fish parts and their functions. The parts and functions. Fish parts and their functions. Now, a fish is a paraphyletic group of organisms, paraphyletic group of organisms that live predominantly, that are aquatic. They are aquatic, and they respire with a gill and move with a fin. So this is basically the major things that you have to, major things that describes a fish. These are the major terms that describes a fish. First, it must be aquatic, predominantly aquatic. Now it is paraphyletic. This is not very necessary, but actually paraphyletic simply means they belong to, is a distinct group, a distinct or a well-defined group or taxa. That is a biological term for group in the taxonomic system. So taxa is a defined taxa that do not include all the descendants of a particular common ancestor. So now, aquatic, meaning that they live in water, predominantly in water. So and they survive by breathing with a gill, because they live in the water, so they respire with the aid of a gill, and of course move. The fin is their locomotory structure. All right. So this is all that defines a fish, or this is the basic terms that define. These are the basic terms that define fish. Now, the parts of the fish. Now, the fish parts can be divided into three basically, and they are the head, the trunk, and the tail. The head, the trunk, and the tail. Okay, I'm going to draw the diagram of a fish right about now, so that we can identify all the sections, all the parts of the fish. All right, so this is the diagram of the fish. Now, what we are going to do next is we are going to now define those parts and distinguish them into, differentiate them into head, trunk, and the tail. All right, so this is of course the tail, from the peduncle to the extreme end. Here is the tail. All right, and there's something called the total length of the fish. The total length of the fish is from here, from this tip of the mouth here to this place. That is the base of the caudal fin. That is the total length of the fish. Then there's another length that is from here to this place. I'm going to tell us what that is called. I've actually forgotten. All right. So now, in the head, you are going to, the head region is around here. So where you're going to have this operculum, the mandible and the maxilla, the mouth, the nares, and the eyes. So in the eye, basically, in the head, basically, I have the eyes, the nares, the mouth, and the operculum. All right, now let's treat the function of this part. Now, what is the function of the eyes? In a fish, there are basically two eyes, and they are located on either sides of the fish. So, they could be rudimentary or compound, depending on the species of fish. Now, rudimentary meaning small or reduced, and compound meaning large. All right, depending on the species of fish and the function which the eyes is going to perform. So, for example, fishes that live near the at the photic zone of the water, be it the the marine or fresh water. As far as you are near the fish is near the photic, it is at the photic zone. Fishes at the photic zone, they make use of their eyes readily, so they are going to possess what is called the compound eyes. So fishes which usually have the rudimentary eyes don't really depend on their organ of sight, the eyes, for survival. Of course, the eyes still play a role in their survival, but they don't depend in, they have much more other advanced instincts that help them to survive in that region, usually the benthic or the aphotic region of the water. So the compound eyes is mostly is endemic to fishes that are at the photic region, the sunlit zone of the water. All right. Now that is basically the function of the eyes. It is used for seeing. The nares now, which is called nostrils, in man is modified into nose, an extension of the nostril. So this is the nose, but in the fish, it is just perforations, 2 to 4 perforations. How would I call it perforations? On that side, and they are used for. They perform basically 3. Now it is a single function that come in like 3 different dimensions. So for man, the nose performs dual function, which are to smell as well to respire. So, but in fish, they have another organ for respiration. Hence, they use the nares just for detection of chemicals. So if they detect chemicals, it will help them to detect smell, foul smells in the water, maybe even good smell, the presence of predator. So sometimes they can smell the presence of predator, and as well, also it helps them to avoid pollution in the water if the water smells foul. Okay, so basically it helps them to detect chemicals, smell chemicals in the water. Now the mouth of the fish. The mouth of the fish is divided into 2, which are the maxilla and the mandible. Alright, the maxilla and the mandible. The maxilla is the upper jaw. And the mandible is the lower jaw. Now these jaws are lined with tooth. They have teeth rather, well, placed, depending on the species of the fish as well. So those teeth are used for they conform to the adaptation of the fish. So the adaptation of the fish, of course. So the kind of fish species will determine the kind of teeth. Yes, the species will determine the kind of teeth it will have. So the teeth will also determine its meal. So the food of the fish, depending on the species, is dependent on the kind of mouth, the kind of teeth that it possesses. So there are some fishes that have um, 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 serrated tooth. So those ones are for, some have vomerine teeth. So serrated tooth means they are very sharp. They are serrated. They are very sharp. There are some which have vomerine teeth. Vomerine teeth. Vomerine teeth means those of a cannibal, a vampire. So what the fish will feed on depends on these guys. So there are some fishes that their mandible and maxillas. So sometimes it's like the human. For some fish, the maxilla is fixed and the mandible is is movable. And in some others, it is both that are movable. It is both of this fish, this maxilla and mandible, that are movable, and it helps them it increases their what is called the gape size. Gape size is how much space the mouth can contain a prey. So for example, a food. So for example, if I open my mouth, that is my gape size. So the movability of this mandible and maxilla determines the gape size. That's basically for the mouth. And as well, the operculum. The operculum of the fish is also called opercular plate. So it helps the fish to protect a very vital organ called the gill. Now, the gill is, of course, is the respiratory organ. Of the fish. So since the fish already uses the gill to respire, it needs, and the gill is a very flexible, very fragile structure that has to be protected. So just like the brain is protected in the cranium, the brain box, of course this gill is also covered by the operculum. So the operculum helps to prevent a number of things from happening to the gill, helps to prevent disease from invading disease, and helps to protect it from mechanical danger. Alright, so that's basically what the operculum is for, and it also opens and closes, directs the movement of water. It also directs the movement of water. Directs the movement of water in and out of the fish mouth. So as the fish is respiring, you see the operculum moving back and forth to control the movement of the water, and as well regulate gaseous exchange. Alright, that is basically it for the head. Alright, due to some technical issues, we were unable to conclude the video on fish parts and their functions. And hopefully, by God's grace, we are going to conclude the video today. Alright, we have talked about, we said the body of the fish can be divided into three parts, which are the head portion, the trunk, and the tail. So the tail. So, and we said we have discussed all the parts that are on the head, which include the nares, the eyes, the operculum, and the mouth, the snout. Alright, so basically we are going to be talking about today the very important part of the fish that in fact are peculiar to only fishes. So this is part of what makes them fish. That is, they use this function very much for a whole lot of their biological processes, including locomotion, basically for locomotion, and in some cases defense, some cases reproduction, and the likes. All right, the parts we are talking about today are actually the fins of the fish. The fins of the fish. Now, the fins of the fish are appendages that are attached to the body of the fish which it uses to move in its habitat, that is the water. So without the fins on the fish, basically the fish might not be able to move in water. So the fish require these appendages to move in water. There are a number of fins on the body of the fish, but basically the fish must have these 4 fins to be able to move efficiently in water. And these 7 fins are the dorsal fin, then the caudal fin. The dorsal fin is these 2. The caudal fin, this is the caudal fin, and this the anal fin. The anal fin and the anal fin are double. So then we have the pectoral fin, and the pelvic fins. Okay, there are 5. I'm sorry, I called it 7. There are five basic fins that the fish must possess in order to be able to move in water efficiently. However, some fishes have additional fins that are called the adipose fin. And that is basically it. So a fish must basically have these 5 sets of fins: the dorsal fin, caudal fin, which is the tail fin, the anal fin, the pectoral fin, and the pelvic fins. Now, they also have specific functions. Generally, all of these fins are used for locomotion, except the adipose fin, which is only a fatty fin and is basically found in trouts, catfishes, such as heterobranchus. Not all catfishes. Catfishes such as heterobranchus bidorsalis. That is where you can find the adipose fin. And it doesn't have a specific function. It is just a modification of the fat on that layer of the body. But these are the 5 set of fins that a fish must have. Now, let's start with the first. So basically, the fins of fish are either paired. They are either paired or unpaired. So when they are paired, it means they come in twos and they appear on either sides of the fish. But when they are unpaired, it means they come single and they appear on the median side of the fish. That is just the back of the fish, on that median side that divides the fish into 2. So that is when they are single. When they are paired, they appear on either sides of the fish. Basically, we have the dorsal fin, the caudal fin, and the anal fin of the fish to be unpaired. That is, they are 1-1 on the body of the fish. While we have the pectoral fin and the pelvic fins to be paired. So we have 2 pectoral fins and 2 pelvic fins, while we have 1 dorsal fin, 1 caudal fin, and 1 anal fin. Now, there might be, in some cases, where this dorsal fin is paired, and that is when we have the adipose fin joined with it. So, for example, in a catfish named Heterobranchus bidorsalis, Now, it has two dorsal fins, and that is why it is called the bidorsalis. But that does not mean that the dorsal fins are two anyways, because that adipose fin, the second fin, is an adipose fin, which is merely a fatty tissue. It is not responsible for locomotion. Remember I said that all of these fins are basically responsible for locomotion. So we said that these two are paired fins. Alright, now let's discuss their functions separately. Now, the dorsal fin. The dorsal fin of the fish have three primary functions, which are protection, for steering, and for stability. Now, for protection, it is very common in fishes such as cichlids, where they usually have a dorsal fin that comes in two forms, which are spinous and rayed. So spinous meaning possessing spines. So these spines are they are lined inside that dorsal fin, and what they use it for is when they encounter a predator which might likely want to attack them, they raise this dorsal fin and the spines become erect. Hence, the predator that wants to attack them might be hurt from those spines, as it might, protrude and wound the predator. So the predator might not be able to attack them. So then the other one is just the rayed, which is spineless, without spines. Okay, so we have the spinous and the rayed in fishes like cichlids. So it is the spinous dorsal fin that is basically doing the function of protecting the fish. Now the other function is steering. Steering is the control of direction in the fish when during locomotion. So as the fish moves in the water, it is able to steer, that is move from one direction to the other, not necessarily change direction totally, but actually maneuver its way through the water. So the dorsal fin helps in steering, just like the steering of a car, of course. And then stability, the dorsal fin also helps to stabilize the fish when moving in water. So that is why you see that the dorsal fin is always erect when the fish is traveling fast in water, to enable it not to roll over, to be stable, all right, during the course of swimming. Now the second is the caudal fin. The caudal fin also performs a number of functions. The caudal fin is also called the tail fin. Now, the caudal fin is basically used for propulsion in water, speed control, and some amount of steering. The caudal fin also helps in some amount of steering. Now, propulsion. When the fish wants to propel itself, say for some fishes that move in short bursts, such as some cichlids that move in short bursts, the caudal fin helps the fish to propel its body and move in that short burst. Short bursts. Now, this is not the only function of that propulsion. When the fish wants to move really speedily, the caudal fin is also responsible for the way it propels itself. Basically, to accelerate in water, the caudal fin is responsible for that. Now, the caudal fin is in a way the the effectiveness, the functionality of that fin is dependent on the shape of the fin, of that caudal fin. In further videos, we are going to talk about these caudal and tail fins, which I will link later in this in the description of this video. Later on, when I will re-edit the video. Now, the caudal fin and the tail fin, I said that they are used for propulsion, so which is actually like some acceleration in the water. Now, another thing is the speed control. So whether the fish will move really fast or really slow or quite slow or quite fast is dependent on this caudal fin. And I talked about the fact that it is the shape of the caudal fin that determines the amount of speed that the fish will possess. So fishes such as the rover predators like the shark, some barracuda, the marlin, and the common ones, those fishes that move really fast in the water, they possess a kind of caudal fin that helps them. They have what is called, their peduncle is very strong and is able to help them. They have what is called the forked tail. Those fishes I mentioned, sharks, barracudas, marlins, they are able to move really speedily in the water because of their caudal fin. And then it also helps in some sort of steering. Now, experiments were conducted to see if without the caudal fin the fish could swim, or could swim at all. Now, the experiment showed that fishes could still swim with the caudal fin, but only slower. So they weren't able to move really fast because of the caudal fin. That was how it was discovered that the caudal fin or tail fin was responsible for the speed control in fish. Now, the other kind of fin is the anal fin. The anal fin, also called the ventral fin. So it is basically the opposite of this dorsal fin because it's located behind the anus of the fish. So it also performs the function of stability. It used to stabilize itself when, now the stability here is when the fish is trying to relax in the water. The anal fin is able to help it to relax, but that function is not basically for the anal fin, but it is partly the function of anal fin. Now, another function that the anal fin performs is during steering as well. The anal fin the fish uses the anal fin to control its steering. It uses the anal fin during steering as well. But basically, what the anal fin is for is both of stability and steering. All right, and the pectoral fin now. The pectoral fin. The pectoral fin. The pectoral fin. The pectoral fin is used for. The pectoral fin is the fin that is on the cheek, more like the cheek of the fish. So the pectoral fin is used now, the pectoral fin is used for balancing itself, not really balancing. It's used for when the fish is staying in one position. It uses the pectoral fin like a sort of brake, to stop movement, and it also uses the pectoral fin to change direction. So it is basically used for changing direction while maintaining an erect position. So when the fish is changing direction, it uses the pectoral fin. And another thing is that there is a sort of movement called pitching. Now, pitching in the water means going up the water column or going down, straight down the water column. So it is with the pectoral fin that the fish is able to wade off the water in its way, so that it can protrude. Go to that direction. So pectoral fin helps the fish in pitching. So and it helps it to also stop movement totally, stay in one position. That is the pectoral fin. So another function of the anal fin that I remember from that is that this one also helps the fish to, whenever it is changing direction, it helps it to maintain an erect position as well, so that it will not roll over, to prevent rolling over. So the anal fin ensures that. Now the last set of fins are the pelvic fins. The pelvic fins. Now the pelvic fins are the fins that are on the abdominal portion. That's why they also call the abdominal fins. Pelvic fins or abdominal fins. The pelvic fins also have a number of functions. They are used to when calling. The pectoral fins are also used for calling, as well as this. So they are also used during calling, and they are used to balance themselves in the water. So for balancing in the water, they are used for balancing in the water. So say, for example, they are trying to change direction, or they are trying to perform any movement in the water. They use the pelvic fin to balance themselves. You can sort of think of it as the legs of an helicopter. So the base of those helicopters. So the way when the helicopter tries to just move up from the ground, you see the way it tries to balance itself. That is what the pelvic fin does. So, and the pelvic fin in some fishes, or is that the anal fin? The anal fin in some fishes is modified into, the anal fin has some modification in some fishes. So in fishes like the shark, it is modified into claspers. And in some other fishes, it is modified into what is called the gonopodium. Now both of these are used during reproduction. They are used during reproduction, and their function is simply to pass the male reproductive. They are common in the male, and they are used to pass the male reproductive gamete into the female. That is used to pass the milt into the female. So the female receives the milt through the male's claspers or gonopodium, which are modifications of the anal fin and the ventral fin. Alright, we are going to talk about the other parts now, which are the lateral line and the scales. The lateral line and the scales. Alright, now the lateral lines. The lateral lines. The lateral lines of the fish are basically for the following functions. Number one, the fish uses the lateral line to sense the amount of pressure, detect pressure in the water. They use it to detect pressure in the water. Detect water pressure. They also use it to detect the direction of flow of water. Direction of flow of water, and they also use it to sense their own movement, and as well as the movement of prey. So that is, they use it to sense vibrations also in water. So that is whether the vibration is caused by the movement of prey or predator. So movement of prey or predators. Hence, so that is what basically the four functions of the lateral line. Use it to detect water pressure in water, the direction of flow, of water, and they use it to detect their own movement or sense their own movement, and vibration in water caused by prey or predator. That is basically what the lateral line is used for. And then the scales. There are a number of scales that the fish have. There are a number of different types of scale, and these different types of scale also dictate the kind of function that it will perform. We have the cycloid scale, we have the ctenoid scale, we have the ganoid scale, and we have the placoid scale. We are going to discuss these types of scale in further videos, but basically the scale performs a number of functions. In some fishes, it is used for defense. Yes, depending on the kind of scale. I talked about that earlier. So, but in some other fishes, now there are some fishes that don't have scale. There are some fishes that don't have scale. So the kind of protection that the ones that have scale use the scale for is mechanical attack, while the fishes that don't have scale, such as catfish, for example, is to escape their predators since they don't have scale. So they secrete, their skin secretes what is a mucus kind of liquid that makes their body slippery such that they can escape their predators. While scaled fishes use their scales to prevent mechanical attack and abrasion, and in some ways disease. They use it to prevent disease in some ways, and that is basically it. So those are the major parts of the fish. Then now there's also the belly. The belly is where the fish keeps the egg. So that is the egg pouch, where the eggs are, produced or kept, So that is basically it. And then there's the peduncle that attaches this part of the body to the tail. So we talked about two lengths of the fish. We have this is called the standard length. We talked about the standard length and the total length. So the standard length is from the tip of the snout to the base of the peduncle. While the total length is the snout to the caudal fin, the base of the caudal fin. So in some ways, these parts help in some meristic analysis or give the fish some morphometric characteristics. All right, I'm going to quickly rush over what we discussed. We talked about the head, which has the eyes for seeing, the nose for detecting smell, the opercular plate for protecting the gills, and of course we talked about the fins. We talked about the dorsal fin, which is used basically for protection and stability in water and some degree of steering. And as well, we talked about the caudal fin, which is for speed control basically, and we talked about the anal fin, which is basically for keeping the fish stabilized in water to prevent wobbling. wobbling, which is rolling over in the water. So we also talked about the pelvic and the pectoral fin, which are basically used to control pitching. So pitching is controlled by these two set of fins, and this one also acts as some sort of brakes, and this one also balances the fish. Then we talked about the lateral line, which are used to detect pressure, water pressure I mean now, direction of flow of water, and their own movement in water, as well as vibration due to prey or predator's presence. And we talked about the skills. Alright, that brings us to the end of the video. If you did gain value in the video, which I know you did, please do well to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when we drop a new video. Thank you very much.